This segment is brought to you by St. Martin and Bork. Know your rights. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's time for Good Vibes, and our transformation coach is in the house, Debbie Cox DeNova.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I never thought I'd see this one, but this is interesting. To the audience, breathing better. We just go through life breathing, and a lot of us think we're breathing okay, but maybe we're not.
Yeah, well, it's automatic, so it's very easily taken for granted, right? And the thing about it is that breathing is actually the only autonomic response, autonomic function that we can actually consciously control. So if you think about like our heart rate and our blood pressure, our digestion, all of that sort of automatically happens. Breathing is the only one we can control, but it actually taps into all the rest of those autonomic functions, and it actually shapes our entire reality. So with our breathing, we can actually address our thinking, we can actually address our emotions, and we can increase our longevity. So a lot of people don't realize that they have this chronic shallow breathing that's happening, which keeps them in a low vibration state of emergency, right? Anxiety, stress, and, which is directly tapped to the way that we're breathing. So I'm going to give the audience today some actual breathing techniques that can either elicit calm, which we've talked about some of those already, or energize you, because the breathing can also be tapped to creating focus, reducing stress and anxiety. It's been used all throughout even spiritual traditions. So ancient spiritual traditions like, pranayama, yogic pranayama, Taoism, breath work, and even contemplative Christians. Yeah, the monks do it, absolutely. And one of the breathing techniques actually that we are going to go over was originated by Tibetan monks who developed a style of breathing that actually creates fire within the body so that they could actually stay warm in the cold. So we'll go over that. But it's really important to address this. So if you are somebody who has been experiencing chronic stress, anxiety, you're not entirely sure, maybe it's generalized anxiety, you're not sure what it's about, but it's just this low level kind of feeling of emergency within the body. This is a really beautiful way to tap into relaxing in the present moment, and or if you're feeling sluggish and you don't want to drink caffeine too late, you can actually use your breath work to bring yourself into an energized state.
That's why I'm scared to take a vacation. I'm in the TV business, which is stress 24/7.
Yeah.
I'm scared if I go lay on the beach somewhere, I'm going to have a heart attack.
Oh my gosh, say that.
I read about that. They say if you're in a high stress level job, don't just go relax right away. You got to ease into it.
Yeah. Well, here's the first thing that we need to kind of go over, which we've gone over before, is that we need to move from shallow breathing to diaphragmatic breathing. Okay. So the diaphragm is this dome-shaped muscle that is at the base of the lungs. And so when you take a deep breath, right? A deep breath though, like into the belly.
Feeling better already.
Yeah, the diaphragm actually contracts to make space for the lungs. So it kind of divides the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. So what most of us are doing is the shallow breathing, right? It's kind of the chest breathing. And if you actually sit at home, just kind of observe yourself right now without adjusting anything. Is it chest breathing, or are you getting down deep into the belly? Because when you get deep into the belly, then you're actually creating more oxygenation in your body and you're lowering the stress response.
Practicing while you're doing that.
Okay, please do. A really great way to practice it is to do 4 and a 6 count. Okay, so 4 seconds in, and then 6 exhale. 4 in, and exhale 6.
Think I'm doing all 4. You got something coming.
After you do it a couple times, just 2 or 3 times, you have
good.
activated your parasympathetic nervous system, which we talk about a lot. So we know that the autonomic nervous system has 2 arms, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic is all about energizing and, fight or flight. That's where you are going into emergency zone. And that autonomic system is there to serve you in the case of an emergency. If there's a threat, you definitely want to be able to run, fight, whatever is needed there. The problem, of course, course, is that it's over hyperactive in many of us because we're bombarded with all sorts of stressful things, and we're sitting a lot, right? We're not burning that off. So to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is really powerful because that's the rest and digest arm of the system. So when you can actually activate the vagus nerve, right? Talk about the vagus nerves, queen of peace, it goes all throughout the body. When you can activate that, you slow the heart rate down, you send the signal to your brain and your body, you're fine. There's no emergency, there's no fire. You don't have to feel this way, okay? So we'll go over a handful of them, but the first one is that diaphragmatic breathing. We've also talked about the physiological sigh, which is a natural breathing phenomenon. You see it in babies, you see it in people who are claustrophobic. It's that double inhale, long exhale.
How many people like tunnels?
Right.
They're claustrophobic.
Yeah.
If you poll 10 people to go on an MRI machine, I bet you all 10 would say, it's not my favorite thing.
No. And if you notice that sometimes the body will automatically, in order to actually calm itself down, take a double inhale and a long exhale. I actually ask a lot of moms moms all know this. Their babies will do it in their sleep. Like, right? So it's that, and that second inhale is really important because it's filling up all those little sacs around the lungs, right? And actually bringing in more oxygen. And that long exhale, of course, is where the vagus nerve is actually activated. So it's actually calming and slowing the heart rate down and sending, so you get more oxygen and you get more calm, right?
Well, that vagus nerve is a pretty important nerve.
So important. It's so important. So we're going to go over some of the actual techniques of breathing after this for focus, for energizing, for calm. But that's kind of like the brief summary of why it's so important to actually think about your breathing.
So let's do this, Debbie. Let's take a deep breath. And we'll be right back. This segment was brought to you by Terrebonne Ford. Built Ford tough. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. This segment is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home. All right, we're back. We're talking with Debbie Cox-Denova, transformation coach, about breathing better. Now, we had a big first segment, but athletes, I remember before football games and basketball games, everybody's in the locker room and then all of a sudden you just have to go. But after the first play, your body does that anyway.
Yeah.
Because now you're going, okay, I'm settled in.
Yep, exactly.
Your body knows when it's settled in.
Oh, absolutely. So sometimes it's a matter of getting it there because the mind will kind of race, right?
Yeah,
And then with
yeah.
the mind, when the mind races, then the body just kind of takes over, and that shallow breathing takes that. The problem with that, of course, is that it reduces oxygenation to the brain. So I don't know if anyone's ever tried to give a speech or had a high pressure moment, like a job interview, and you are panicking a little bit, and because of that, you're not getting as much oxygen to the brain, so you literally can't remember what you absolutely know that you know
Right.
because your brain isn't getting that oxygen. So this is
Call
going
it
to help.
vapor locked.
Yeah. Exactly.
You get vapor locked.
Yes. Okay. So the first style of breathing I'm going to talk about is box breathing. Okay. And this, or it's also called U.S. Navy SEAL breathing because it was popularized by the U.S. Navy SEALs, even though it's an ancient pranayamic breathing technique. And it's all you have to remember at home if you want to write notes on this, because these are different styles that are going to elicit different responses, is 4, 4, 4, 4. So box breathing, right? So with this, before we do it, you're going to actually remember that this style of breathing specifically is going to regulate your nervous system. It's going to reduce your anxiety, and it's going to sharpen your focus. So this is used a lot in tactical, in military, and it's very easy to remember, of course. So you breathe in for 4, you hold at the top for 4, you exhale for 4, and you hold at the bottom for 4. So let's do it together. Ready? Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Okay. Just with the one, you may actually already start to kind of notice that your focus starts to sharpen and and your anxiety decreases. So if you continue that, and that's probably one of the easiest things to remember because it's just 4, 4, 4, 4.
And I wasn't anxious before the show started.
I know you are. This isn't even for you. Okay.
This morning was different, though.
This is a fun one, okay? This is called breath of fire. So this is a pranayamic technique. I do not advise that if you're doing this, especially for the first time, that you're doing it while you drive. But this is one that is meant to energize the body. It's actually meant to bring mental clarity and that fire. So this is where you get that fire.
Before you do it, Brian Gano's watching, Mr. Dale Carnegie himself.
Yes.
And I bet he knows all this.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah. All right.
Some
So
breathing
I'm ready.
techniques, yes. Okay, so this is for energy and mental clarity, okay? And this is a rapid rhythmic breathing technique. Now, what I want you to imagine while you're doing this is a dog panting, okay? So remember we talked about the
Do I
diaphragm.
have to?
One more
Okay, all right,
sport.
All right, okay.
Okay, so it's rapid rhythmic breathing, okay, through the nose, into the belly, okay? And you're going to be doing this 30 to 40 times, okay? So
I'd rather do this in the confines of my home alone, please.
So you're breathing through the nose and you're pumping the belly in and out like a dog panting, okay? So this is generating heat. Martin's going to demonstrate it while I talk. This is going to generate heat. It's going to clear your mental focus. It's going to increase alertness, and it's going to actually help detoxify the body. So when you do it, you can actually feel the energy kind of like, right? Like starting to generate. And one of the things about this is that you may get a little lightheaded if you're not used to doing it. So
I just noticed it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you may want to do that when you're not operating heavy machinery and such. Okay.
Yeah.
The other one for energy and clarity is by Wim Hof. And we have talked about him before. I don't remember if you remember, but he's the Iceman. So he's the guy who goes out in his underwear in ice cold temperatures, and he popularized the ice baths, And so he actually borrowed this. This is, even though it is something that he popularized, it's actually called Houma breathing. And this is the breathing style technique that we talked about, where the Tibetan monks would use it to bring a fire into their bodies when they would sit in snow. Okay, so this one, you're going to do 30 or 40 fast breaths, and then you're going to exhale long on that last breath, okay? Then you're going to inhale and hold it for 15 seconds, and then you're going to start all over again, okay? So
You need a PhD just to follow those directions.
I know, you'll get used to it. Keep going, keep bringing it in. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Pumping, right?
That's not,
And then on the last one, and then you inhale, hold it for 15. And then you exhale. And you repeat that process. Okay, so this should generate some heat in the body. This is a really great practice on a day-to-day basis in the privacy of your own home. You might look a little strange doing it. Another one you don't want to be.
Before my ACT test, I'd have done well.
You also don't want to be operating heavy machinery when you do that one. Okay, the last one is coherence breathing. We've talked about the Heart Math Institute and syncopating the heart and the brain. This one is also a very simple one. Your goal is to get 5 to 6 breaths per minute, okay? So you're basically going to breathe in for 5 to 6 seconds, exhale for 5 to 6 seconds, and this is going to balance the nervous system. It's going to improve your heart rate variability, and it is going to help you control your emotional stability. So you breathe in for 5. Exhale for 5. Inhale for 5. Exhale for 5.
And saved by the timer. There you go. That's the show. We'll see you again next week.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, see you again next week. This segment was brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side.